Okay, I think we'll just try this again. It says it's recording. I had it in full screen. I couldn't see the button, so I'm able to see the button now. So we can just go from here. Okay, let's try it again. So, hey guys, Michael here. I'm up in the corner. Don't know how to actually enlarge this, so you guys will just have to stare at Skyler's amazing beard. So yeah, this is my friend Skyler. We decided to hop on a call together and collab on a video. He had posted on a video I'd posted a little while back about filling your schedule and how often when we're feeling unmotivated, it's a result of just not having enough going on. So Skyler added to what I was saying, and he basically said, well, filling your schedule is great and it's very important, but if it's not working towards kind of a larger sense of purpose or vision, then there's essentially some sort of aspect missing. And if you do find that sense of purpose and vision, then it's much easier to kind of fill your schedule and, feel motivated and work towards, the stuff you're working towards. So, Skyler, maybe give us a quick intro tell us a bit about yourself. Just kind of 1, 2, 3 bullet points. Me and Skyler have worked together for about 3 years now. He's a super solid dude, a lot of similar interests. So, yeah, give him a quick summary.
Yeah, well, thank you. I really appreciate the call because the videos that you post, they're actually very relevant. I think that more people should be speaking more often about the kinds of things that you do. So, first of all, shout out to you. Thank you very much for doing what you do. Skyler Dietze, and I'm from Edmonton. I grew up there. I graduated U of A 2 years ago. I was in industrial design. I consider myself an emerging designer, but I'm in Vancouver right now. So I work for a fabrication company. It's a maker space, and we're in the business of making display and backdrops and kind of special events, decor and things like that. And then it's really nice. I really love it here in Vancouver, my new home, and that's kind of a brief summary of me.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. So one of the reasons I was really excited, and I kind of reached out to you and say, hey, let's collab on something like this, is because when you posted that, there was a part of me that was like, well, I'm still kind of in the process of figuring that out. For a long time I kind of struggled with having that bit, and it seems like you've for a large part figured it out. For me, it's been kind of an ongoing struggle of trying to figure out, okay, what's the big vision for my life? Why am I doing all the stuff I'm doing? And it hasn't really been until recently where I've started to figure that out on kind of a larger scale level. And so I thought it'd be great to get on the video with you and produce some content, obviously, for other people, so other people can take value from it. But I'm also just curious about your experiences, like personally. So how what are the stuff that you've done, so on and so forth. So I guess maybe first of all, I'm curious to see what is the vision that you've created for yourself, and how. Yeah, maybe let's start there, and then we can talk about how it's kind of evolved and changed and stuff over time as well.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, I want to say before I get into my person, I think what a lot of people confuse or maybe get caught up in is they're a little bit, maybe they don't understand what vision, purpose, big and dream goals, and I think. Or how to use them, like how to define them. And I think, if I had to start anywhere, it'd be my vision or this or something that drives me. It's not so defined that I can tell you, oh yeah, no, I just want to be the world's greatest designer, or I want everyone to have access to drinking water, or I want all men to love me. It's such a defined purpose. For me, I think that's what a lot of people struggle with, is they need, what does that mean? What is, I need to have it so defined before I can have anything. And so what I've found is that if you're comfortable with
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think maybe let's dive a bit more into that because it did get a bit vague. So for me personally, how I'd relate to it, and you can kind of shoot back. So you said not having it defined and then allowing it. So what I've noticed from my own life is that for so long I tried to make this picture perfect vision of what I thought I wanted, and I'd work towards that, and my motivation would almost always run out, or I'd run into obstacles, and it would things would just kind of fall apart, and I'd be like, okay, well, it's not worth it in the end anyways. But what I started doing was I changed my mindset a bit, and I started just finishing things and taking small steps and stuff that I knew interested me and knew was good and beneficial and would it contribute to my life. And what ended up happening was that vision kind of defined itself just through experiences. So maybe is that kind of more along the lines of what you're saying?
Yeah, I think you hit the keys right there, because what you're talking about is kind of breaking it up in chunks, right?
Okay.
Just kind of basically taking this big, crazy, unforeseeable, like intangible goal or purpose or dream and making it into things that are tangible. Like you've heard of SMART goals. Like what's the acronym for those type of goals?
Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-oriented or time-based or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can speak a little bit to that, but I use that acronym sometimes just to kind of prove the point. Is that your purpose should be broken down into those types of goals, I think. So, for example, like if your purpose is, like if you think your purpose or your ultimate goal is to become a millionaire, or maybe it's not, maybe it doesn't have anything to do with money. Maybe it's more just you want to be a great business person. You want to own a great business, work for yourself, things like that. That might be too intangible. That might be too far away for you to be able to actually turn that into something you can do today or something you can do this week or this month. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I guess to relate back to that again, I want to try and maybe let's figure out how we can structure this a little bit better too here as well, because I like what you're saying, and I think the common mindset that a lot of people go into when they're trying to figure out their purpose or what to do with their life, like you said, is they say, okay, let's say and this is what I did for quite a while. I'm like, okay, I want to be a millionaire, or a big thing for me was like I want to. I can't even remember what it was. I think I said when I first learned about goal setting and law of attraction and kind of all these personal development topics. I think the first thing I wrote down was like, I want to be a millionaire by 25, a billionaire by 50, or and like I want to create what was it? I think like by the time I'm 25, I want $10,000 a month in residual income, and it's just so arbitrary. Like the goals were so arbitrary, and I think that's a common, so for somebody who is trying to create a purpose for his life, it's a common thing where it's just like they basically just like throw out this thing. Well, it's like, why? Like, how is that relevant to your life, kind of thing?
Yeah, I got a couple points on that one actually, because here's the thing. I think a lot of people that are going to be seeing this are probably going to be people that we've worked with.
Yeah.
And a lot of those people are salespeople. Sure. So here's a bit of what I've discovered through that is a lot of salespeople they follow. You and I both follow Grant Cardone, right? He's amazing. He's proven it, and he's got his own theories. 10x, right? 10x is his big thing.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of people that throws them off, because I like his idea of throwing loftier goals. So at least if you don't hit that one, you fall higher than you would have if your goals were less, right?
Yeah.
I think some people may get that a little bit out of hand. So instead of 10xing, maybe that's too much to handle.
Yeah.
Or it's too intangible. It's too you have to do so much more work in reverse engineering that, so you can break it down. But then, it depends also what you're 10x, right? I like Grant's ideas about that. But if you're 10xing money, that's not really intrinsic, right? It's more. It doesn't. For me, I think for most people, they fall apart because money isn't actually that great of a motivator. They think it might be. Maybe that it's what they're after, but that's not typically not a reason why you want to do something.
Yeah. So to relate, because I know you said a lot of people on watching this will be people that we work with. I do find I have a bit of a more diversified audience. So there will be people who maybe don't know about Grant Cardone. So just to kind of put that into context for other people, Grant Cardone is a sales trainer, and the 10x concept he talks about is to basically take any goal that you have and multiply it by 10. Now I know what you said about the kind of the money. Like when we think we want money, what I found personally is that often it's not the money we want, but it's what we think the money is going to get us.
Yeah. No, exactly. And I think you said a really important word before, and it all had to do with why. Mm-hmm. Tell me if you follow Simon Sinek. You've probably heard of him.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, so he's got a book called Start With Why, and that's actually something that I haven't delved into a lot of Simon Sinek, but I use that phrase all the time. It's got me through a lot of like accomplishing goals, or just day to day, just whether it be teaching someone something or whatever the case is. Starting with why is just a good principle for any daily activity, any lifestyle. So the principle behind starting with why is literally like, why do you do this? Why do you want that? Why do you want $1 million? Why do you want to have a house, like your own house by 25, or your own independent business by 25 or 30 or something like that?
Yeah.
Right? What is the underlying reason? Not just to make money, but like what's like for yourself personally? Why do you want that? Like instead of what or how, mm-hmm. as in by what or how could be by selling product or service, or if you're buying a house, it'd be like, well, get approved by the bank. Yeah. But why? Why do you want those things?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I think really great thing. So let's get on on pace with helping people kind of figuring out what their purpose or vision is for their life. I think kind of actionable steps that we can take right off the bat, and kind of relating to all the stuff we've talked about is, if you could have if you could have anything you wanted in your life, like what would you have? And for me, if you asked me that question, 5-6 years ago, I'm like, well, I want to be rich, but one, I had no concept of what that even meant. What it actually means to have money. And now that you and I have both been fairly successful, our definition of money has changed quite a bit. But I think
success too, right? The definition for success as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one, it's asking yourself, okay, if I could have anything in the world, what would I have? Okay, or how would I be living my day-to-day life? There's a couple exercises I've done multiple times. One is I'll write basically date a letter 5 years from now, so same day but just 5 years later. So what would today be? January 22nd today, 2023. And what I do is I say, okay, it's January 2nd, 2023, and I write down, like, if everything went perfect in the next 5 years, this is how I'd be living. And it can be a little unrealistic. So like, in the past, it's like I'm making, $10,000 a month residual income. I'm waking up every day passionate, excited for the work I'm doing. I have this social life and my body looks like this, and I have these type of relationships, and so on and so forth. So getting clear on kind of, and it doesn't have to be super defined, but figuring out, okay, first of all, what do I want? But then taking that thing and saying, okay, well now why do I want this? Yeah. So, okay, I want $1 million, but why do you want $1 million? Like for me, when I started diving into that question, it was like, okay, I want to have an awesome social life. I want to be able to have really great experiences with people, like just being able to go out and like do things like salsa dancing and going out and connecting with really awesome people that I actually like and connect and are actually really good friends with and talk about stuff I'm interested in. I want to have growth related experiences. I want to be able to like continuously grow and expand and push my boundaries and push my limitations. And those are the things. When I started asking myself, okay, well, why do I want $1 million? I realized that it wasn't the $1 million that I wanted. It was actually growth and connection that I really wanted.
Yeah, no, I get that. And I think that is a lot more tangible. Like what you just described, those social connections and experiences, those tangible things. We have already experienced that. And so we just want more and more often, right? Yeah. So it's not, you don't have to define it in the sense of some arbitrary big dollar amount or status or, what's the word I'm looking for? Equity, right? Like if you feel like those things, I think you have to break it down, is what you're saying, right? So I agree with that completely. So how, for the people watching and listening, how do you break it down and why do you break it down? Well, because it's too arbitrary. Like I think a lot of people confuse these, like what they want out of life, which in my experience, that's shifted for me so many times, right? And then I don't mean to say that I've got it all figured out. We're all still figuring it out, right?
Yeah.
But I think the key is being okay with still figuring it out.
So, right? A couple things I wanted to relate to this, and maybe we'll dive in some of the ways that, I'll talk about some of the ways I've kind of quote unquote figured it out, and you can talk about that as well. But I kind of just relating back to this point, and it popped up a little early in my head when we were talking, but if you look at somebody like, say, for example, Mark Zuckerberg, who created Facebook, like his original, if you actually, I can't remember where I read this exactly, but his original goal with Facebook wasn't to build a mass, like the purpose behind it wasn't intrinsically money oriented. If you look, even if you watch The Social Network, like he avoided monetizing it for so long because he believed the why behind it. And if you actually look at it, like his purpose with Facebook was never to build a massive company, it was to connect people. And now that he's had massive success with Facebook, if you look at the stuff he's involved with now, his purpose is still the same, to connect people. So if you look, he's building, I think last I heard, and I don't know kind of where this project's at, but he's building these solar powered, essentially airplanes that will actually beam down Wi-Fi to locations that have no access to like internet at all, so that you can access like the remote regions of Africa, where people who would never be able to access this stuff all of a sudden have access to internet and can connect with people around the world and share ideas and develop. And it's funny because now Mark Zuckerberg's all that he does, all the success that he's had is just a continuation of his original purpose, which was to connect people.
Yeah, no, it's all stays the same, right? And that's it's all momentum too, right? If you can start with a purpose, and it's worked for you in the past, roll with it, right? So, and that can be, it doesn't have to be millionaire by 25, right? I think people got to realize that you got to celebrate the small victories, right? Yeah. I think being comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? So it's and that goes way beyond fitness or finance or anything like that. I think a lot of it has to do with self-awareness. Mm-hmm. Like if you follow Gary Vaynerchuk as well.
Yeah.
that's something that's resonated with me. He harps on it like crazy. Self-awareness and patience. Like, those are the two qualities that I've struggled with. Of course, we all do. And I think that's something that people need to constantly remind themselves. If you're comfortable with where you're at, you can be comfortable with where you're going.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Me, let's put it in perspective, right? Like, who am I to kind of be able to say that? Well, I don't make a lot of money, but I'm very happy with my situation, with like what I possess, my possessions, which don't mean much. To me, it's like I really like having a laptop because I get to do so many things with it.
Yeah.
But I don't have much. But what I do have is social connections. That's something that's very important to me as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Like yourself, experiences.
Yeah.
Like some of the finer things in life, like whatever experience, going dancing or music or this craft beer, this new brewery down the street, or rock climbing, or even just talking with interesting people, or just not even interesting people, maybe just going deep with regular people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, this guy doing things like this. This to me, like, for people that are chiming in, Michael and I spent about an hour to actually figure out how this call works.
Oh my God.
But I mean, I was patient with that because I really wanted stuff like this to happen.
Yeah.
So I'm very comfortable. The point of all this is simple, is that I'm very comfortable with just being me and letting people be them. Like, I don't need this house, I don't need this car, I don't need this business to propel me to a higher status that probably I'm just making up in my head, or I've seen other people do and it looks cool.
Yeah, from the outside.
From the outside, right? And
Yeah.
you don't know their struggle. Everyone does their own struggles. That's something to remember. Even the wealthiest people, even the seemingly happiest people, sometimes they're struggling the most, right?
The funny thing, and maybe let's transition into starting to talk about how people can find their, quote unquote purpose and vision. Because I think it's super funny because just kind of relating to you don't need a lot of money and you don't need the status and the fame and stuff like that. What I've found personally in my own life, so ironically, some of the most happiest and simultaneously depressing days have been the days where I got exactly what I asked for. And
Right.
the reason being, say for example, one of my goals last year was to make a certain amount of money, and it was quite a bit more money than most people will typically make, especially in the the kind of the condensed time period. And it's funny because I got the the money in the money seen in my bank account, and I was jubilant for a week, maybe 2 weeks, and then it's like, okay, well, the money's there. Financially, everything was set. I was spending money like crazy, and everything was fantastic. Whatever, it was fun. But like at the same time, it's like, man, I still have all my problems haven't gone away except the monetary ones. Sure, I can live a little bit better of a lifestyle. I don't have to worry about my bills as much. But I'm still don't have the social connections that I necessarily want. I still, have issues with my body, with my, my family and my relationships. There's, so it's funny. Money solves money problems, and I would never devalue money at all, but it's not everything. And like you said, once you get to a point where you're what I found is the more you're on your quote unquote purpose, ironically, the less you actually need money, which is great. But then when you do get money, it's it just becomes this giant game of everything you do. And some people think I'm crazy for this, but I'm at the point where it's I never really want to retire. Financial independence is something that's very important to me and I see myself achieving, but I'm at a point where it's I never want to stop working and building towards my, having greater and greater impact in the world and, living my purpose and my big vision, quote unquote, whatever you call it. So maybe let's hop in and let's figure out like what are some of the ways that you have, over the past X amount of years, found your purpose or vision, or how was it that you went from this guy who's like, I know we talked about this earlier, who wants the the house and the family and the kids and kind of just this very stereotypical middle class lifestyle that you wanted, that everybody probably told you wanted. How did you go from that to figuring out, okay, wow, I'm actually at a point where I'm very happy and content and excited about my future? How did that kind of transition?
Yeah, there's a couple things. First of all, going from the stereotypical graduate, get married, buy a house, have kids, right? I think I was observant, right? I saw other people doing that, and the people I observed, it didn't look all that great when I kind of got to know them a little bit more in their situations.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to say that it's not a good way to do it. Some people are very stereotypical and very happy.
Yeah.
I won't undervalue that. I feel like the examples I saw, the people did it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
So I think they didn't necessarily have their why. I just noticed that, okay, maybe that's not the way to go,
mm-hmm.
right? Maybe it's not for everyone. And then it helped have a little bit more introspection as well. Being in the sales world, you learn a lot about self-development, introspection, goal setting, things like that. So with that introspection, I was like, okay, do I actually want that? Like, I was kind of raised in that middle class mentality. That's kind of where things were heading.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, I don't really want a house.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking to myself, that just sounds really expensive and like a lot of work. And I don't really that's not my priority. I think I would love to have a house.
Yeah.
I think most people would. But it's not my priority. Right now, we got 1,000 square feet or whatever. Like, I don't need any more. I don't have a family, first of all, but I don't really want a house right now.
Yeah.
Being married and having kids, it's like, not a big priority for me.
Yeah.
So why would I force it? I think that's what a lot of people do. They do it for the wrong reasons.
Sure.
So
maybe I'll add on to this as well, because this isn't saying that having a house or living a very high lifestyle or having any of the material success is a bad thing. And I think if you come from it from the right reasons, material success can be amazing. Yeah. But it's just like you said, if it's coming from a wrong place, if you're doing it for in psychology, there's a very a concept I love, and it's basically the difference between an internal locus of control and an external locus of control. So if you have an external locus of control, what you're doing is you're looking outside of you, you're looking at what other people tell you and what media tells you and stuff to see if what you're doing is right or wrong. And typically that's associated with lower self-esteem, people who will change and modify themselves and their behavior in order to please other people. That's kind of where you get that type of person. But if you have an internal locus of control, you're looking from the inside out to see, okay, is this something that I really want? For me, like, I always wanted, this car I'm driving right now. Like, I'm driving a brand new Audi, and something I wanted for years and years and years and years. And for me, I ended up getting it, and it's funny because part of me was wondering, well, did I do this for the right reasons or the wrong reasons? But now I'm at a point where I'm very content, and it's actually part of my purpose. And we can talk about that a little bit later. But the material success that I have actually adds on to what I want to do and what I want to create and contribute to the world, which I think a lot of people may not understand, because especially with you see a lot of, there's obviously a lot of corrupt. Oh, where'd you go?
Oh, there we go. Back on.
There's a lot of issues, and you can look, and there's, I think there's a common kind of misconception in the world that rich people are greedy and you know, kind of stuff like that. But it's you know, I'm learning more and more that it is quite the opposite. You know, people who are wealthy and people who create wealth often add the most value to the world. And this isn't saying everybody, obviously. Like, obviously, there's some issues out there, but yeah. So just to kind of add to that,
I very much agree. And let me ask you too about the Audi, because us guys, like, that's kind of our thing, right? It's the big fancy sports car.
Yeah.
After, and I mean that arbitrarily. Yeah. I really love Jeeps. Because when you got your Audi, was it, you said it kind of added to the purpose. Did it reassure as well? Like, how did it add?
So I guess for me, the way it kind of, like, originally it was just a goal I wanted for myself. You know, something that, and maybe let's talk about this real quick. And I want to come back to this, but for people to give kind of some tangible stuff that people can actually do, something that I found has been very powerful in finding my purpose has been to figure out the stuff that you want or that keeps popping into your mind over and over again, and to start doing that stuff. So say, for example, for me, for a long time, I wanted to sell alarm systems, and that's, you know, most people would hear that and like, that's weird. And I'm definitely not saying that's, you know, not everybody's gonna want to do something like that. But for me, it was something that I wanted to try and do, and it was something that was always in the back of my head. You know, and what I started doing really young, and I think one of the things that allowed me to kind of develop my purpose over time, was to start doing the stuff that kept popping into my head over and over and over again. So say, for example, like selling alarm systems, or you know, I kept thinking about this car and I couldn't get it out of my head. You know, or another thing was I wanted to take a trip. Like, my definition of happiness like 3 years ago was, you know, having a backpack on my back, me being in Southeast Asia, and a bunch of money in my account. And I achieved that, and, you know, it changed my definition of success. But going, like, through these experiences, like, say, for example, going on those trips and buying my car, what it actually allowed me to do was to define my purpose at a higher level. So when I got the car, originally it was completely out of a selfish motivation. And it was like, this is something that I want. You know, I feel like this is almost a representation of me. And it's funny how we define ourselves through material goods, but it's like, I see myself as this person who's driving, you know, this nice sports car. But how it evolved for me afterwards was I've realized over the last little bit, and I mean, this will always evolve and change, but a large part of my purpose is about growth and creating freedom for myself and other people. And that's kind of where I continuously resonate with the most. So for me, the way this is kind of added to my purpose is it becomes this, almost like this symbol for other people to kind of follow. I really wish, there was a girl I worked with a while back, and she used a really great word to describe it, but success, even if you look at somebody like Tai Lopez, for example, a lot of people hate him. You know, a lot of people hate him, and they see, like, well, here in my garage, got my new Lamborghini here. You know, they see that video and they're like, oh, he's so selfish and narcissistic, and you know, whatever, he just rented the Lamborghini. But what a lot of people don't recognize is that, sure, the material goods are amazing. Like, I think it's amazing to have it, but what a lot of people who hate on Tai Lopez don't realize is that through that one video alone, he got more people to read than, like, probably anybody else on this planet. You know, like here's my car, and you have to think about it. Like, how many people out there are like, well, I want the material stuff. I want the especially for us guys, it's like, I want a fucking nice car. I want a nice home. I want lots of girls. I want, you know, to be in great shape. You know, and here he is kind of showing all this stuff off. Here I am in my new home in the Hollywood Hills, got my new Lamborghini, here's my models to the side. And all this stuff is great, but what I really like is knowledge. You know, yeah. And you can tell that, you know, although yes, it's very markety and salesy, what he really is trying to tell people is, like, learn. become a better human being.
If you got into the subliminal messaging in that, I think that's a really good example, right? Because it's like knowledge and learning and books doesn't sound sexy, right?
No.
And I think that's what a lot of people are after is the bright, flashy, attractive things, because they bring us joy and they're cool and they kind of give you a bit of status. But if you looked into the subliminal messages, it's like, no, actually, maybe even just like the direct message, yeah, you can have this too if you learn and study and work hard. And,
yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, I agree with that. I don't particularly like Ty's, like the way he goes about
sure.
it. But,
yeah.
But I think you can get into that. It's more like metaphorical and subliminal messaging. Because he's proven it, right? You can't argue with the money he makes. You can't argue with the things that he's encouraged people to do, and usually it's for the better, right?
Yeah.
Learning and reading, educating yourself.
Yeah. So, to me, and just kind of stepping back a sec here, but like to me, that's kind of how I've seen my car now. I see it more as a way to lead and inspire people, because when it's like people see that and they're like, oh man, you have like, I've had, younger guys come up to me before, guys in their, 17, 18, 19, 20, they're like, dude, that's a really nice car. You're so young. Like, cause I'm 24, I have a baby face. So people are like, well, how's this guy driving this freaking awesome car? It's like, dude, like learn, grow, work hard, like network, learn as many skills as you possibly can, and it's like that's kind of the message I continuously push to people now. And I've learned how to kind of it's interesting because you learn how to present the message to the person in front of you and kind of not modify the message, but present it to them in the way that they'll hear it. So it's very interesting for me because the type of person I was 4, 5, 6 years ago was very much like, I want the money, I want the women, I want the houses, the private jets, and originally how I became a better person, quote unquote, a better person, or like progressed myself forward and found my purpose was by like meeting people who had all this stuff and me being like almost like, oh, you have such a nice car, like how did you do that? So it was. It almost like drew me in, and I mean, I'm whatever. Anyways,
I think in summary of that, basically you're flying a flag, and it's either you're becoming a leader or inspiring others, because that's kind of how you got to that point, right?
Yeah.
I really like that and appreciate that because you don't need your car, right? You love it.
I love it. I don't need it.
So it's just a material, it's just a tangible way to kind of inspire others, but also to reaffirm your purpose a little bit, I imagine.
Yeah.
And because, that's just, I think that's very important, because a car, you can see, most people can see themselves buying a car, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not a fancy one, but maybe that's a big deal to them. Maybe that's a really big goal for them, is to owning a car. Mm-hmm. That's not so bad. That's not so out of reach as something that's like millionaire by 25, right?
Yeah.
I feel like you got to break it down. You got to get in the mindset that you should have more tangible, more, I guess that's the word, right? Something that's actually tangible, something that you can hold or possess or have, that rather than the idea of something, rather than, I'm going to be rich so I can do whatever the fuck I want. Well, but that's not tangible. That's an idea.
Yeah.
Right? Get a car first. Or it doesn't even have to be material. Maybe it's just like,
No.
maybe more of an experience or a connection that you want with someone, right?
Yeah.
So maybe that $1 million, like you said before, that $1 million is going to get me some sort of experience or connection with people. Well, how about, if you brought up salsa dancing, maybe one of your big dreams is to perform live in a group or just with a partner. Why not just, make that your tangible goal or your tangible purpose rather than millionaire? Because I understand being a millionaire, maybe you don't have to work as much, maybe you have more time to do dancing or something like that, right? But why don't you just go straight there, right? The quickest path is a straight line, so why don't you just go straight to that? Make that your goal. It's tangible. You can feel it, and you can actually see the steps, to getting there.
Let's so relating back to this, and this here's an actual practical exercise that people can use. This other guy I've been following for a while, creator of Mind Valley. Do you remember his name? Vishen. I can't remember his last name. Interesting dude, but he basically created this exercise that he did, and he asked himself, okay, what are my goals? And because the main social narrative, and I think this is where a lot of people get caught up, is they think that, like you said, okay, well, go to university, graduate, get a house, get a car, get a family, wife, kids, so on and so forth. But what he talked about is, okay, instead of that, okay, what you do is if you write down the things you want, like if there was no social boundaries kind of thing. Like, so he wrote down things like, I want to speak in front of, thousands of people. I want to, what was the other thing? I want to be able to travel to all these different places. I want to have a loving, caring relationship. I want to, he basically had this whole list of things. And what he did, so basically exactly what you're saying, was he instead of trying to do the traditional narrative of like going to school, whatever, he went straight for those things. And sure enough, I think he was talking about like some like 5 or 6 years later, he's living in like Bali, and he throws these massive events every year called Awesomeness Fest, and like I think it's something like create like hundreds of entrepreneurs from all around the globe, people who are very like interested in things like personal development and growing as human beings and having impact in the world. They all come together, and it was basically like one of the exact things that he had written down on his list. So I think that's the first one of the first practical steps that people can actually do in terms of, say, for example, quote unquote, discovering their purpose, is asking, okay, what is it that I actually want? If money was irrelevant, if time was irrelevant, if I could just have anything, what would it be?
Yeah.
So figure that out, and then find small ways in which you can get that, like right now.
Which, by the way, you don't need $1 million to travel the world.
No. Right?
I think our generation, and probably just a lot of people that we know, and probably hopefully a lot of people that are watching this, we all love traveling. We all love seeing the world and experiencing new things.
Yeah.
For people that have done it before, especially if it's like on a backpacking trip, for example,
yeah,
it doesn't have to be very expensive, right?
No, man.
So I think maybe we're lost in the fact that we have to reach some sort of intangible dream before we can have intangible outcomes, or before we can have tangible outcomes.
Yeah.
Which I think, so I'll give you an example, actually. This isn't so much, getting things, more along the lines of a career path for me. Mm-hmm. A few months ago, I cut up, and
Skyler?
I don't feel like I'm skilled enough.
Hold up a sec.
Trained enough to
just go.
I can see my value and
go back. You're gonna have to go back a second here. It's the Skype call has kind of lost connection. Can you just
Okay.
talk for a sec?
Yeah, is it working?
Yeah, it's better now. Okay, go back like 4, 5, 6 sentences.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so a few months ago, I was kind of caught up in, where is my career path heading, and I wasn't very confident in my own personal abilities and skills. I didn't feel skilled enough. I didn't feel trained enough to even approach a design firm and say, yes, I'm a designer, I guess. Can I please work here? Very, very not confident with my current capabilities. And so I was thinking, okay, there's roundabout ways to do that. And some of those ways were, okay, go back to school, whether it be university or maybe something more technical, something a little more practical in my field. And then a friend of mine, she said, why don't you just apply, just reach out to some people, go straight for it, essentially what we're talking about. Why don't you just, you have a CV, you've done some projects, even most of them just from school. Just put it out there, because you have nothing to lose. Go straight for what you want, instead of, just thinking that you're not already there. Right? So I guess the purpose of that is it's a mental shift. And I took that, I was like, yeah, okay, well, nothing to lose. I'll throw out some CVs. I threw out about 20. Only one got back to me, and that's where I am currently. And it's right along the lines of where I want to get. It's a good stepping stone. It's pretty well along the lines of what I wanted to do. So and I love it. My job is a lot of fun. Get to be creative and great people to work with. Point of that being, I don't have to have this dream. I don't have to be at this certain level or this certain status or this much money or this educated to start living how I want to live. Sometimes you can just
do it
now. Right? I mean, hell, you just gotta shift your mentality, right? Be good enough for yourself and just put yourself out there. And some people, maybe you'll be surprised who actually likes you.
It's funny. Oh shucks, where did I put my phone? So one, and I think this is maybe the second tangible thing that people can do, but actually start like you said, actually start doing the stuff that you want to do. I'll let me see if I can pull it up here. There was have you heard of the app Evernote?
Yes, heard of it.
So what I did, actually maybe not even this one. So one of the things I started doing was every time I thought of something that I wanted, what I was doing, and hopefully, I wonder if people can see it here, and you can't really see it, but I basically, every time I thought of something I wanted in my life, no matter how out there it was, I would write it down. So I have crazy things on here, like go to Mars, and maybe not so crazy now because it's actually happening, but what are some other stuff? Do a Muay Thai trip to Thailand, go do Muay Thai there, buy a condo, go back and visit this place, get really in really, really good shape, start developing the relationships with, girls that I want. And literally all the, anytime I'd have even a thought of this is something I want, I would write it down. So what happened is I compiled this list of things that I want, and what would happen is every time an opportunity came up to do one of these things, I would do it. And what would happen is it would either, one, I would keep doing it because it's, okay, this is something that I want more of, or I do it and it's okay, maybe this isn't what I wanted, but what was it about that I wanted in the first place? It's funny, I think this is one of the most powerful exercises that I've ever done. I actually wrote down, I wrote down my dream girl, almost to a T, exactly what I thought I wanted in a girl at the time. And it was funny because within about a year, I ended up finding that exact girl, like almost to a T. I actually showed. We didn't date very long, but like, you know, I actually ended up showing her this list, and I'm like, I wrote this down like half a year ago, and she was like baffled because it was her too. Like it was so funny. It was so funny. So I think, first down, like writing down the stuff you want, like anything that pops into your head, because you'll get an idea at the most random of times. And I think those inspired ideas, like the things that just kind of pop into your head and you don't like, it didn't really come from, you know, you weren't actively thinking about it, just kind of came from somewhere else. Write those down and start doing them as much as you can. You know, like the ideas that you keep thinking about over and over and over again, they're there for a reason. Just fucking do them.
Yeah. Well, because those typically come with some sort of an emotionally charged place, right? Which is a good thing. Mm-hmm. And because we're emotional people, we make decisions based off of emotion. Imagine how much more fulfilled we'd be if we acted more on emotion in something that we want, or in like a positive, progressive way. Like you're saying, having this list and going after those things, or when an opportunity arises, like grabbing it and holding on, because we already know that's something tangible that we felt that we wanted, and like you said, usually it keeps coming up, right? So I think that's key too, rather than, you know, because we're so obsessed with ideas and lofty things that aren't real. They're not practical. I guess that could be a word for it, but maybe not practical is the best word, because becoming a millionaire by 25 could be practical. Yeah. But I think it's the idea that people get caught up in. So what you're saying, it's amazing. I really appreciate that list, the way that you do that, because all those things are very simple. Yeah. And they're very specific and very attainable. Yeah. If you always did those things on that list, you wouldn't even have time to think that you were unhappy. You know what I mean? No. You would not have time. You'd be filling your schedule with so much shit that makes you happy just because you wrote it down and some opportunity came up, right? Yeah. I think having it written down acts as a reminder of who you are too. Yeah. Right? Yeah, no, I'm actually into this, so I'll write it down and I'll probably do it one day. Yeah. Yeah, so it's funny because most of the things that I write down now, because I've kind of worked through this, you know, these grand concepts of like, I'm going to be a billionaire in, 17 years, or, whatever crazy ideas I had. But it's funny because like whenever I write something down now, I almost instinctively know that the fact that I'm writing it down is going to happen. Yeah. Like it's weird. It's weird. And it's so much, life's so much easier now. I don't feel like I have to, and I don't know, I had this like weird shift a little while ago, but I don't feel like I make decisions anymore. It's almost like the insight comes to me and then I just do it. Yeah, you just react and then it's fulfilling. Yeah. Yeah. No, I get that. I appreciate that, and I think I'd like to start adopting that and see where that takes me. Right. Yeah. But I love lists. I love lists. I do that for work. I do that every single day. To do. Mm-hmm. But maybe I could do an emotional list, right? Yeah. So I just first thing comes up to my head. It can be so simple. Tonight, I really want to make a fancy dinner for myself, or maybe a friend. Yeah. I'm going to write that down, and then it's probably going to happen. And so right there, it's tangible. I can do it right away. I'm going to do that right after this call. Yeah. Then I have something to look forward to. And it's going to be very fulfilling and filling. So, yeah. So I think that's, if you can use that mentality kind of to what all-encompassing thing that we're saying, breaking it down into just simpler terms that we already know we can achieve, or You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And then
Fun.
what I found by doing these things as well, it's almost like money follows those. You know, it's like
Yeah.
I want to make a fancy meal for my friends, and you do it, and it's like, well, that was really fun. I want to do a bigger one. You know, maybe I want to throw a bigger, and it's like all of a sudden it's like, well, to do that I'm going to need $500. You know, it's like, okay, well, how am I going to come up with $500? And your brain goes into overdrive. It's like, oh, well, I can just go do this, or hey, some random work comes up. You know, you find creative ways to do it.
I think that's one thing that people confuse as well. Is I agree with you. Money follows. I think some people need clarification on that, because it's not that you have a great idea and you're putting yourself out there, and so somebody will walk by you on the street and hand you cash. I think
No.
you don't just automatically get a raise or a bonus.
Yeah.
I think people need to understand that they don't just get cash
Yeah.
because they're passionate. It's doors opening. It's opportunity,
Yes.
right? And sometimes it usually manifests itself in some form of cash flow. It can, anyways.
Hard
but
work.
I totally agree with that, right?
Yeah.
Because your mind is like, this is something I really want. I'll pursue it with all my heart and passion, and then doors open, and then you get money. You do.
Yeah, there's a really good saying I heard, because I think there's so many people out there just looking for kind of quote unquote handouts, but
Yeah.
what I found is that opportunity, and I love this quote, but opportunity often presents itself in the form of hard work.
Yep. Yeah, and it's funny because sometimes those opportunities is like, that's going to take a lot of my time.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Or that's be something I'm going to have to learn or struggle through.
Yeah.
But typically, so that hard work, it literally pays off sometimes. Like, I'll give you one example. It's working out quite well for me right now. Is my grander purpose right now. I said it's not so defined because. So I could say I want to be rich, but like I said, it's not tangible for me. I don't know what that means really.
Yeah.
So I understand, having lots of money, but I think principally, my overall purpose right now is to pay off student loans.
Sure.
And so it's kind of linked with goals, but the reason I say it's my purpose, or one of my purposes, is because I can break that down into chunks of payments, if you will, right? So, okay, pay off student loans. So, what do I have to do to that? Well, my current income won't really help me pay that off very quickly, so I need to do work on the side. Side job, side hustle, whatever you want to call it. So I've determined that's one of the biggest priorities for me, because I know that once I get out of student debt, I'm going to have some freedom, right? And
Right.
it won't be this like pressure in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I just said that and wrote it down, like kind of what you do on a regular basis, wrote it down and started talking about it more and bringing it up. And then doors just open.
Yep.
Like people, I'm fortunate enough to be in a workplace where it's very community based. There's a community workshop, so I get to interact with a lot of different people and just talk about myself and talk about them. And then they're like, "Yeah, do you know anyone that can do this or do that?" And you're like, "Yeah, me." And I do it, and then they pay me for it, and yeah, that's getting me closer and closer to my goals.
Yeah. That's
Right?
great, man.
Yeah.
I love it. Maybe let's just because we're getting on an hour here. Let's. I think that'd be a good place to finish this up. I did want to ask you one of my favorite questions, just to kind of finish this off. If you could have any superpower in the world, what superpower would you have?
And I've always wanted to fly.
Nice.
I think and not even just like going like around the world really quickly. I mean, just like sometimes just like levitating a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to go grab that ladder over there. So I just want to just use my superpower so I can reach the top shelf. I've always wanted to fly. Super strength is cool, but I don't know. You can go anywhere and do anything if you can fly, man.
Yeah, that's great, man. I love it.
Yeah. What about yourself? What was yours?
I'd want to be able to teleport for similar reasons.
Yep.
One,
like,
I think you could
like Nightcrawler, or like more like telepathically.
Probably more like a jumper type teleportation. If you've watched that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. It'd be I think it'd be pretty cool. You can fly with it. You can go anywhere, like in a blink of an eye. You can, I just think it'd be super neat. But yeah, or read minds. No, I wouldn't want to read minds.
That would ruin it.
Yeah.
That would ruin all your human interaction ever.
Yeah. But anyways, cool, man. Okay, I'm gonna let you go. Loved having you. I'm hoping a lot of I know a lot of people will get some value out of this. I've had a few people reach out to me, kind of actually in regards to this whole like finding your purpose and stuff like that as well. So I'm hoping a lot of people will get value. And if you want to get in contact with Skyler about anything, I'll tag him in the video, so you guys can reach out to him on Facebook.
Please do. I'm really open to talking about this stuff with anybody. And it's not to say that I've got all this figured out, but I just like the idea of discussing it. I think more people should talk about it more, because then we'll figure it out faster. So
absolutely.
So feel free to send me a message or give me a call. Details from Michael. Thanks so much for having me, Mike. Appreciate it.
Okay, awesome, Skyler. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.